Hey everybody, welcome back again. I know by now y'all should be so engulfed with who we've gotten to talk to, because it's a family unit. We did it together, right? So we got to talk to Sid from the Baldy Revolution and her entire journey. Tori from Her Cuts and Tori Lens over there in London. We got to talk to, who did we go and talk to after? Pele, or also Gwen. Oh, I gotta get it right. She gonna kill me. Anywho, over there in Delaware. And then we also, if y'all just seen the last one, got to talk to the wonderful Rochelle Rain in Toronto, who is a graphic designer. So today, because by this time it is the end of the year, I would hope that you have started to plan your year already months ago when we started this series, but it's okay if you haven't. Today we're actually going to be talking to another friend of mine, okay, who I also met at another conference. Conferences is a hit, y'all, okay? She is super dope. Met her in New York, which is where she is, and her name is Naja. So we're going to be jumping into some conversations today because she's going to come from a different perspective that everyone else has actually had on this panel, so to speak. And so once again, if you don't know, my name is Precious, and I just am the founder and creative of artinmanyforms or whatever. And so I want to give a shout out once again to our sponsors, Youthprise and the Knight Foundation. Sorry, y'all. The Knight Foundation. Want to thank them both for being able to make these things happen. And I'm going to let Naja go ahead and take it away.
Yes, so thank you for that lovely introduction. As you all have heard, my name is Naja Bomani. Also, I go by Salibi for my business, or my brand consulting business, I should say. A little bit about myself. Jamaican. I live in New York. I'm the oldest of 3 girls. And fun fact about me is that as a water child, I'm born in June, I'm Cancer. I need to be by water. And let me tell you how this COVID thing is not happening. It's like not doing it for me, because I need to be in somebody's ocean right now, but not New York water. I need island. I need Jamaica. I need Costa Rica. I need something. And right now, I'm about this close to just running in my sprinkler in the backyard. So that's a little bit about me. There you go.
Black women. I just want to point out that literally everybody on this panel is wow, is either Nigerian or Jamaican. And Naja, right now, when I first met her, she was a baldy like me. She had this haircut, actually.
Yes, I was.
And now
you see me. You see me? You see me?
Tori who said this, either Tori or Sid said you attract who you are. All of the speakers on this panel, which there's going to be something in store later, but all the speakers on this panel is either Nigerian, Jamaican, Black girl, and just getting it popping somewhere. So even better, Naja gave y'all this different introduction. Unlike everybody else, Naja's, well, did have a job, right? We talk about that, but Naja actually works in agency.
Yes,
I'm very surprised every day who she works for, because she works.
So I work for BBDO.
Yeah, which, if you don't know, is a really big, is one of the bigger design agencies worldwide. Like house and do everything. I don't know their clients like that. But as a person who worked in agency, I can tell you it is everybody in agency goal to go and work for BBDO. I don't know why. I don't know what the hype is, because I don't work for nobody else but me. Okay, so with that being said, because I know y'all heard her say she's a brand consultant. Can you actually talk, like, let's actually talk about what your day-to-day and freelance life looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So should I do a little bit of background on how I got to BBDO and how I was balancing all of that?
Let us know how you ended up working at BBDO and then also starting to do your own thing on the side. Give us that, because I think there's a lot of people who still have jobs but also want to do their own thing on the side, and I speak to them groups of people.
No, definitely, I could do that. So I went to the New York Institute of Technology, Manhattan campus, and there I was studying graphic design. Went there, opportunity, my mom worked there, it was great. I was like, all right. And then very interestingly, in me having my portfolio review, I had reached out to this guy by the name of JD Michaels, who had worked at BBDO at the time. He was like, Black man, only Black man that I ever knew that worked at agency life. Dreads, very interesting. He led their EVP of like production and engineering, and then also their diversity council. So I had sent him my work. He got me connected to someone in HR for an internship. And literally right out of college, I just started interning at BBDO. And I was interning on their communications planning or their comms planning team, where they were looking for a designer because at the time, it was new, strategy was new, but they didn't really know how to design, and like even design and strategy right now, they were working in silos. So the two groups were not working together. So here I come as like a liaison to that. And I'm like helping out with strategy, but I'm also helping out with design. I'm helping come up with books. I'm helping come up with some creative briefs. And then 3 months down the line, I was like, okay, my internship is over, but I'm a college graduate. Y'all need to keep me here. There needs to be some type of way that I can stay here. Like my foot is in the door, but I need to get like fully in and immersed. So I went back to JD, and literally October came and he was like, okay, so you're hired through our diversity council. You got a full-time position. And from there, I had this niche role in being a designer on a strategy team, but yet still being able to like tap my fingers in different work. So, well, different creative work. So the way that it works in the diversity, with the Diversity Council, they had a residency program. And with the residency program, you're there for a year. You could kind of like choose what work you could work on to build your portfolio. But the way that it happened for me was that like I was already on planning. So we were already doing niche projects. We were doing like different work. We were coming up with like our own studies of e-commerce and making products and doing a whole brand identity for certain things. So I literally stayed on that team and built my portfolio from teaching design school to doing our e-commerce project to all this stuff. And now 4.5 years I've been there. And I have been promoted to design strategist. So I'm the liaison between marketing science, planning, and our design team. So when it comes to data visualization, when it comes to UX, so we recently had to like build a whole website for our new process. And then right now, client work. Yeah, I did my fingers in all of it. And then of course on the side, I have my brand consulting business of Salih Branding. And that all actually started through college as well. It's definitely been growing since. So balancing the two has been very interesting. Mm-hmm. I will say I'm very heavy on the 9 to 5 and my 5 to 9. Like that is a thing. Literally having to schedule time just for me to eat breakfast or drink water is also very, very true. But like it's been beautiful. I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything. Definitely there are times where I'm like, okay, I only have one body and I only have two hands and I can't be spread in so many different avenues right now. Like some things have to give. But then there's other times it's like, okay, well, this is something that I asked for. Like, so the thing is, when you ask for something, like, you can't time when it happens and when it comes. You just got to be ready for it. And then that's a challenge, but also a growth all in itself. So that's a little bit of my story. Little bit.
And then so when did you graduate from college?
I graduated in 2016.
Okay, so boom. So for the last 4 years, you have been doing both.
Yep, for the last 4 years, I have been doing both. There were times when, like, maybe my branding or my consulting business was not as busy, so I was dedicated more time to BBDO. And there was a time in there where I was like, okay, I think I need to take a break, because creatively, I was like, I need to, do a bit more strategy on what I'm trying to do, what I want to do with this or with my business. So I did halt for a little bit. And now, literally going into 2020, like, I'll say mid 2019, going to 2020, I wrote down, okay, like, this is going to be the time where I want more clients, I want to do more work, I want more exposure. And at the same time, those were like similar things that I had asked for BBDO. And now this is both happening at the same time. At the same time.
Explicit lyrics, but I can't do that right now. To something at the same damn time.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, with that being said, though, okay, so first of all, wow, talk about, which in our last conversation, we literally just talked about how networking leads to collaboration, which leads to having resources to put you in places that you asked to be in, wasn't ready for, and now you're here, right? So, hey, how are you? So once you started working at BBDO, or because they both started in college, what made you say, I don't want to stop doing this thing on the side that you clearly wanted to do for yourself? Like, what made you say, oh, I want to keep doing that? Was it, like, what was it?
Honestly, it's the love and the passion for it. Like, honestly and truly speaking, because even when I was younger, I was I don't know, creative, artistic. I always knew that I liked working with my hands. That was it. So whether it was building something, whether it was like, okay, you want me to make this clay pot? Cool, I'll do it. And then it wasn't until high school that I found out about, things becoming more digital and graphic design and things like that, things of that nature. However, high school was what, 2012? And everyone that I knew of when it came to counselors, and it was around the time of having to apply to college, so I need to decide what I wanted to do. Everyone was like, graphic design, don't do that. That's not going to be a thing in the future. I even had a family member tell me that I was going to end up working at the Apple store, and he was really trying to persuade me to be a nurse. And I was like, yeah, no, because I know me, science is not a thing, and I always went the creative route. So yeah, like, that's really what it was, the passion and the love for it. And to be honest, you'll have your days where you're like, man, I have a lot on my plate or workload, but then there's like this anxious feeling to just want to get work done and like do certain things. I'm like, okay, it's 3 a.m., but I'm on E, and like, that adrenaline is kicking right now. So let me like flesh this out. And that's really what it is. And then it feels good. So when I do see family members that are just like, they really wanted me to work at the App Store, it's funny because I'd seen that family member recently and they were just like, oh, hey, like, what you doing? What you doing now? Like, I'm like, well, I work in advertising and I have my own business. And they're just like, oh, okay. Like, that is the best feeling. So never let anybody tell you that you can't do anything because
You can't do both, or as many things that your heart desires, because Naja, you want to go ahead and say all the things you do. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I work at BBDO, and you can only imagine how many clients I have my own business, my brand consulting agency. Um, I am in the process of coming up with a hair care line slash oil, which is like a family project. And then I do have an LLC, which is because I'm just very versatile. So underneath this, I plan on doing some journalism. I want to write a few books in there. So we have some plans in the making. Some plans.
Ma'am, how do you plan on doing all of these things realistically with being such a liaison at BBDO? And I would expect, because it's BBDO New York, that means that you don't have like one project. You don't even probably have four. You might have like, I don't know, like maybe 6 at a time.
Right now, literally everything is on a notepad for me because I can't keep it up here. And I want to say that's probably more than 6 because agency life right now, or at least the way it is for BBDO, we're all into people being hybrids. So, like, I'm a little bit of a hybrid because I'm a designer, but I'm across 3 different teams. So I have to like tap my different skills into each. How do I plan on doing everything? That's where me needing a team comes in eventually. So I do need that. I've gotten to the point where things have just grown, you know, and it's no longer me being able to do certain things by myself. And I'm realizing that. That's also, I guess, a personal reflection too, because I'm always like, well, I'll do it. Like, I can do it. Like, it's fine. I'll do it. And I say yes to everything. I'm like the yes woman. So when I have to say no, I'm like, man, that really hurts.
That's that water energy. That's that water sign. Y'all don't never want to say no to nothing. And let me tell you something. Y'all need to get like us earth signs. We say no proudly. We up. No. I'm not gonna.
What?
I don't want to. No. No.
And that's like both ends. It's on both ends too. Like personally for me, but also for my business, but then also BBDO because you want to be able to do everything. But then it's like realistically, I can't. So let me prioritize the things that I can do. And then also build a team in the process because I'm supposed to be getting a team at BBDO. And then I'm also in the process of building my team for myself. So that's in the works.
Mm-hmm. And so how is, I mean, you kind of already touched on it, but how does like working at BBDO, being across 3 teams really affects your entrepreneurship and like how you're going about like mentally and physically? Because I know you get exhausted, but how does all of that affect your work when you're like, I want to be dedicated to both?
Are you talking about positive and negative or just overall?
Yeah, overall, positive and negative, however you want to break it down.
Okay. So I feel like there are certain areas where I'm able to kind of use inspiration from them. So it's like, okay, maybe there's an idea for BBDO that didn't work out and it was not used, but I can use this direction for something that I was personally trying to do, and then vice versa. Um, However, in that, I will say with always like being always on for both, people forget that design is not just like let me make something look pretty. At least not for me, because with being a design strategist, like we literally have to sit and think about data visualization and design thinking and all this stuff. And I'm just like, my brain power in trying to work on 6 projects at a time for BBDO and then 10 projects at a time, probably for myself most times. Yeah, my brain just can't do it. So there are times where I'm like, okay, this self-care and me needing to just unplug, like, but that unfortunately is like at the the last moment where I'm like, all right, it's time for me to unplug because I can't. Has to happen because like my ideas just can't flow. I know recently there was a time where I needed to just look at a deck. I needed to look at a deck. I need to look at creative work. And I was looking at it as if it was something I did not understand on the page. And I'm just like, yeah, I know exactly what this is. And after this, I can't do anything. Like, I really can't. So whether you need to take that 24 hours, that 48 hours, shoot the whole week if you need to, please do so, because that will help your creative juices to start flow. Well, one, to rest. That's one. But then once the time comes, get your ideas flowing again. Like maybe you're in the shower one day and it's like, oh snap, I didn't think about this, because I know that happens to me. You're in the shower, you think about something. All right, let me quickly sketch down the post-it or write it down and then come back to it. But just don't look at it right now. Why? Because I'm still taking time for me. Like, that's been my strategy. Like literally. Oh snap, I'm cooking. Oh, I didn't think about this before. Let me apply that to the brain fart that I had on this project. Great. Like, but literally needing that time is key, because there's no way, like there is no way you can be always on and still expect for your for your vision for certain things to come to life. Because I know, like, yeah, behind, like, in the back of your head, you may be thinking, like, well, let me do this because it'll only take me like this amount of time, or let me do this because they're asking for it. But then when you do it, and the feedback that you get is not what you imagined, um, you may be like, oh, well, I figured that was going to be the case anyway. Why? Because I didn't have the proper time to really think about it and to really work on it. I was just like, I was forcing it, and you don't want to force it. That's the thing. Like, it becomes a thing when you try to force it and it doesn't work out for you.
You know what? And that's why I've learned over the years, and this is not for everybody else, this is really just for me. For certain projects, I literally do them 2-3 days before they are due. Okay. Because when I just, and I don't know why, this has just been me for all my little life. When I actually try to work on a project for months, oh, I hate it. I just hate it. But tell me the deadline is in 3 days. I'm gonna make the coldest thing in
Girl.
the world. I don't know why. It's just me as a human being. Peer pressure, I work so much better under it, and like that's just me as a person. Test, driver test, all that. I did what is it that you do in high school? Driver's ed.
Mm-hmm.
Did that. Went into my permit test, failed. Failed.
What?
Which was like, here I am. I've been in this class for 3 months. Failed permit test. Now let me tell you something. I decided at like 17, because my birthday is in January. So I decided the following year. No, I didn't even decide the following year. It was like 6 months later, because in Minnesota you gotta wait 6 months. The night before I decided to go take my test, literally the night before, I read the whole book. And then I went and took the test and passed.
Because you didn't have that pressure on you, though. You're like, man.
Oh, this makes sense now. Y'all, that's just who I am as a person. But you know, that's like part of something else that you touched on too is manifestation. When you talk about you asked for this,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do this. What do you see like when it comes to like even now in your work? So as you're talking about, you and the family are making a hair care line of oils and things of that nature. Like when you're writing these things down and you're trying to, track it and things of that nature, and you're manifesting it, does it ever surprise you? Are you ever like, wow, that was surprising? Or are you just like, you know what? Wow.
You know, that's interesting that you asked, because for me, like outside of business, or I guess you could say overall, writing is the best form of manifestation. Like literally, when I say I write everything, I write everything. Um, and I take it and I either like write it down, hide it somewhere, or write it down, put it on a post-it note. But I'll never look at it again. And it's interesting because in me beginning to do that, I feel like I was watching a documentary and I don't remember what it was. It was so long ago. And this woman just expressed how she wrote things down, not in the aspect of manifestation, but she was just explaining that she writes things down so that the things that she needs to remember stay up here, and the things that she doesn't need to remember are kind of just like obsolete. So in me taking that and putting it into a manifestation aspect, I just started to write things down, and I would just hide, like not hide it from myself, but I just put it away, but it will still be here. So when I would see that paper again, I'm just like, oh, well, snap. Like I did this. I did, I did that too. Wait, I did this too. And it's just like, it's a surprise, but then it's like, it's not, it's a surprise because I feel like, you put so much pressure on yourself to get certain things done and to reach certain goals. But then overall, it's like, I was ready for this and I knew this was coming anyway. I just didn't know when, right? And it's interesting because when people talk about success and when they talk about what they want, I feel like even though my business is still growing right now, there are certain things where it's like, I feel like it's so close I can taste it. Like even though I don't have it in front of me, it's so close I can taste it. And then before you know it, time goes by so fast and then boom, like everything worked out. Just everything. So that's what I keep in my head. I'm like, okay, like I'm crossing off these small goals or these things that I'm manifesting. And then one day I'm going to look back and it's going to be flash 5 years and I have this big agency, the consultant agency. I have this big hair care line, like, and it's all going to work out. Like that's all that comes to mind for me. So close I can taste it. It's like the decision has already been made. I just need to get there. That's it.
Okay, come through with the word. The decision. Get there. Okay. So
Like that is.
I just need to work my way up there to see if it's possible. You know what? That's a word. And
Like, but seriously though, like, how do you like? What happens, or I guess when you write certain things down? I know I'm flipping the script on you. I'm asking you questions. And you manifest certain things. Like, what is your reaction? How does that, like, what is that whole process for you?
I realize that's funny, because you're the only person who has did that. But I realized a while ago, me and a friend, my homegirl Martina, we were talking about this on her mother's porch. So this was a while ago. This had to be like 2015, 5 years ago. That everything I write down comes to fruition. I remember telling her that because I was like, dang, I still have this, I want to call it a checklist that I wrote in 2013. And the first time I had ever looked back at it, I was like, I did all of that. Like, I did the gallery shows, I've made the websites, I've worked at the agency, I've worked at corporate, graduated with my degree, like I did all those things. So every time I write something down, like now, because I'm becoming more of a believer of asking God for the bigger things. So like, even when COVID came this year, I had already said I wanted to travel internationally. You know what I mean? So even though borders are closed, I said I wanted to do artinmanyforms in London, and it'll still happen in the physical, but being able to have a speaker or a keynote in London was like, to have a person in Toronto was like, or even just to have you in New York and another person in Chicago and another person in Delaware. It was like, I could have never did this all in one space. And now here we are, and like everybody's at home in their own comfortable spaces. But this is like a panel discussion, right?
Yes.
And so that's beautiful because I get to witness all these different things and people and gestures. And actually, I misspoke earlier because Gwennon is Liberian, but whatever. I still all these different characters, right? So every time I write something down, it really doesn't matter You know what? The most plainest example I can say is that last year I started the LLC because I've been designing since I was a kid. So last year I started the LLC on March 4th, 2019 for King P Studio. And I told God I wanted to make a certain amount. I asked God, could I make a certain amount? Let me rephrase myself. Okay. I asked God, could I make a certain amount? So which God was like, I got you. And I made that amount. I made that amount by the end of the year. And I think things like that, being able to have those moments, because I'm a thorough believer that manifesting goes with prayer. Like, you don't have to be religious to have a moment with whomever and be like, listen, this list I got. I'm trying to work some things out, okay? So even this year, one of my bigger goals was to pay off one of my student loans, and I did. And so, yeah, I know, right? It wasn't a big one, because I'm like, if I can kill this, I can kill this, and like that's how my mind works.
Big or small, it all matters.
Yeah, listen, I'm learning that too. It don't matter how small or big the win was. Was it a W? Okay, well.
Yes. Because smaller ones can lead to big ones, or they just all ladder up and get to even bigger ones. Like,
you know, because I was literally just thinking to myself, because prior to this, y'all, I always have a conversation with the speaker. And so we were actually talking, and I always give them a download on everything that we're going to be doing. And then I was like, dang, so we got Art in Many Forms living room flow. We got Art in Many Forms, the Keynote Series. Y'all got the workshops. Y'all got the webinars. And y'all got the workbooks. What else do you want from me?
we got the powerful woman that's behind all of this too. So, I'm sorry. How many jobs do you have? Like, are you Caribbean?
Oh, come on now. First of all, okay, let me not lie. Let me not get that lie out my throat. I was trying to say I live a regular life. No, I don't. Because y'all, yeah, there's art in many forms. And that's another thing too. The fact that in a year from the time I started Art in Many Forms, July of 2019 till now, I've spoken with 24 women. I've paid 24 women to speak with me about their endeavors. 24 women in a year. And I have certain goals, because Art in Many Forms is for the underdogs, but like I got that ideology from Supa. And like Supa I want to have a sit down conversation with her one day. I know she's just like, y'all, I'm just winging it.
Didn't you just post about her yesterday?
Yes,
you did. I'm like, she's talking about this. Wow, I feel like, yes, you did.
Yes, because the thing about it is that I'm not a stan of anyone, right? But like, I want to have a conversation with a woman who literally took her platform and then decided, I'm not just trying to be a social media influencer. Like, she decided a long time ago, I need to actually make money that brings me longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she did it. And so to watch her is like, it's inspirational, but it's also like the first time Supa moved, because Supa was making money off of Wazam Supa. And then the next time she moved, I was like, word, bet. So when I'm my own life, and I'm like, hey, I moved into my place off of a profit and loss statement, which is beautiful and whatever. But I'm like, the next place, okay, bet. Like, yeah.
It's all beautiful. It's all so beautiful. Like, I feel like these are things you can't even, like, yes, you put them into words, but like the moments of just reflecting and just like thinking about it's like, wow. Like, wow, like that's, I don't know about you, but that's what happens to me. And people ask me, I'm just like, honestly, I can put this into words, but me putting this into words does not even ladder up to like how this feels. Like it
Yeah.
is not the same.
Wait, so then do you ever have moments where, because I think, I think, and it's not even just, I want to say astrology, because I feel like all people do this, but do you ever have moments where, like, because you're working so much, you haven't even taken notice of all of the things that you've done?
Yes, all the time.
Okay.
And the only reason, the only times I actually am able to be still
Mm-hmm.
and notice all the things that I've done
Mm-hmm.
are moments like this. Like if someone was to ask me, you know, what I've done and what I do, or like if it just happens to come up in conversation, I'm just like, damn, how in the hell? Like, how did I do all of this? Because it's just so in the moment. And for me, I'm not thinking about, oh, okay, let me get this, I need to get this done, this done, this done, this done. I'm just in the moment of doing the work. And then once it's final, I'm like, okay, great. But taking that time to actually sit back and look at everything, prime example, COVID. During COVID, we're all quarantined. BBDO was a bit slow, so my business started growing. And I have, you know, my business started growing. You know, we have Black Lives Matter happening. Everyone is into building their own businesses and starting their own businesses. So they're looking for logos and they're looking for some design work. Let me tell you how I've done about 30 logos since the start of COVID. And I did not realize until I want to say like a month ago, where I was just looking through all my files. I was like, okay, I did that. Like moments like that, prime example.
Yep. Yep.
And then I just have to give myself a pat on the back, like, Naja, nobody told you this, but you can tell yourself, you the bomb, girl, you the bomb. That's it.
Okay. Into my spirit and soul. Because I surely, at that moment last night, I don't know, I always review everything after we record, and I was watching it back and I was just smiling. And then I felt my cheeks, because I got big cheeks. Okay. So I put my cheeks in the air. And I was like, I'm really doing this, God. You
Yes, are.
okay. Because wow. Okay. But never taking inventory to really congratulate yourself. And then what has been consistent with everybody, including us too, is everybody being like, yo, I never really sit back and think about how much I've did, but during our conversations, now I'm sitting back and thinking about this journey, and it's like, wow, you should have way more grace because you've been going hard in the paint. Okay.
What? Like literally yesterday, my mom was talking to me. It was like via text, and she was just saying something, and then you know she'll refer me to some of like her friends or like even people that are looking to start up a business. And this was a moment where I had to say no because I was like, I don't have the bandwidth, so I had to say no. But then she was like, wait, no. I was like, yeah, I honestly don't have the bandwidth right now. Like, there's too many things happening. And I told her, I said, I don't know how I do it. She was like, you just do it, girl. You just do it. That's how you do it. And I was like, oh, thanks, Mom.
You just do it. Like, girl, it's way more than just doing it, but okay, I love it.
I was
So,
like, that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly what it was. I
um,
know.
before, because I know you gotta hop off soon.
But I'm loving this, so I actually don't want to rush you.
Okay, because I was gonna say it's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm loving this. So let me see. You good?
Yeah,
Nobody's yeah.
the best part about it is my last two questions is actually gonna tie you back to work. So, my next question was gonna be, so yes, entrepreneurship, at this point, everyone should understand, especially as a person of color, you should have that. And if you have not checked the stats, Black women have been out here getting LLCs and making sure they survive outside of their 5-year mark and going over 250 grand religiously for the last 3-4 years. Like, the market has been up thanks to women and Black women and Latinx women and other women of color who are starting businesses. But with that being said, Naja, you see all of this, I'm trying not to curse, you see all of this horrible things, horrible crap when it comes to corporations. Can you please just touch on how important it is as a designer of color and as a person who is over 3 different groups, how important it is for corporations to hire people of color and value them? Because don't hire me to say you got me, baby. Hire me with some respect. Can you touch on that?
Yes, I can also, because this may actually show how much I'm spread across BBDO. It is very important. I will say that my way into BBDO through that diversity council, those were the only Black people that I saw. Like, and I want to say it was probably 10 of us. So wherever we went, whether we were in the cafeteria, or whether we were like at our desks, or we were trying to find a spot to hide and be creative. It even got to a point where JD, my mentor that I mentioned earlier, he had set it up where he built a whole room for people underneath the creative residency to like go in and like be creative. There was a PS4 in there. There was a whole screen. It was like set up as a studio for us, but within BBDO. But after that, because people don't value us and they just think diversity is only hiring Black people but not using them, they found opportunities elsewhere. So I will say a lot of the people that I started with in this program are not at BBDO anymore. And they are very surprised that I am still here. And it's interesting because you'll even hear from higher ups, like C-suite, because their understanding is that, well, you just need to hire Black people, right? Like that's really all it is. But it's not, because you can't hire us and then not use us on the work, but then just come to us when you need feedback on something. Because why? Client either doesn't like this or something in here should not be in here, and the way it's being translated is not correct. And most times there's probably a reference to Black culture or a Black person or Black history. So what's happening now is that with all of this stuff in our current times, agency life, I will include a BBDO, kind of has been put a bit on blast in regards to representation. Right now, we are in the process of hiring more BIPOC. I don't really like that term. It sounds weird to me every time I say it, but people of color. But not just that, also kind of tapping into like the intersectionality aspect, because I feel like people's mindsets when it comes to diversity is very much Black and white, and it's not just Black and white. Granted, to answer your question, it's very important to hire people of color. Like, let that be clear. But once again, if you don't value them and you're not using them, or you still continue to be siloed and there's no intersectionality, it's not going to be successful. So there are a lot of changes happening. Agency life, we have hired a person of color to lead diversity at our agency recently. I have come back because we kind of didn't have our diversity council. So me and a few people on planning brought that back, and it actually got a lot of a lot of eyes on it from C-suite. So literally, when I tell you, literally since George Floyd, everything from them now recognizing the group to having agency town halls to now restructuring our hiring system, like, and doing a whole lot of internal work when it comes to retention and hiring talent is happening right now. And I'm helping with that.
A designer, a strategist, probably a part of analytics, and then you gonna head on over to the HR department. Girl, you might as well, like at this point, she ain't gotta say it, but I'll say BBDO and all agencies, don't just hire Black folks, don't just hire people of color, but specifically when you hire Black women, make sure you give them the same salary as a mediocre white guy, please.
Mm-hmm.
These three, I can just, okay.
Also, let me tell you, on this group, it's nothing but women, like, who have put this together. So we're, I'm not trying to like badmouth the men here. Like, we're looking for some men, but literally this entire team has been women. Women.
Agency has always been a freaking boys club. And that's why a lot of people, especially here in Minnesota, don't nobody want to, I don't want to join your agency. I don't want to be a part of your agency. No. People always used to talk about that show. I've never watched it. What is it, Mad Men?
Yes. Yeah. Or there may be another show. No, there's another show that's connected to agency life. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, whatever these shows, they're predominantly boys' towns. I am a little black chocolate girl, okay? I don't want to sit around and talk to Tom, Dick, and Harry about a trip. I don't care. Okay? We have lived two different lives. And that's one of the most important things I will say is that don't just hire Black folks or people of color, BIPOC people of color, to just say, hey, we hired this many people. Don't just hire these folks to say, oh, hey, can you review this ad because we want to make sure we're not offending nobody. Don't hire me for that. Hire me because you're like, ooh, she brings a new perspective. She has a whole new idea. I want to add that to this project. I want her to have one of the options for us to review in total, even if you don't get it.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the world might. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's also a recognition aspect too, because like, okay, so you do hire Black people and you put them on certain work. One, if you don't use them, you're still recycling bad habits. And then two, when you do decide to use them, you're only pulling them in because you have fires that you have to put out that you should have included them. Like, you should have included them from the beginning, because why? Their insight and their background would have helped with something. If you're like sometimes it's like, it's not rocket science. Like, it really isn't rocket science. But I guess those are the back to basics that we kind of have to teach now. And also, let it also be understood that this is work. So if you're helping build a system or a process, D&I related anything, we were already talking to them about, okay, so is this something that we can bill to our, timesheets? Because this is not just voluntary. Like, this is still work that is being done. So also, if you are doing this, make sure this is billable and this is stuff you're getting paid for, and it's not just seen as volunteer work, because let's just say the world is on fire right now. The world is going to do what it wants to do. But one, you make sure you continue to be you and do yourself, and make sure them invoices and them checks are properly getting paid and for all the right things, because that is not military.
All of it, because I said so. And you want to make sure that you don't put out the wrong thing.
Yes.
Girl, oh, we could have so many conversations about agency life, and
it's so crazy because this is our first time seeing each other since a year ago. That's why.
And I'm and I'm surprised because when I first met her, she was like, yeah, I work at BBDO. And I had the same reaction then that I guess I had today.
Ooh. Yes. Ooh, how do you do that? No. Let me tell you all. She was like, oh, you agency life. Wow.
And mind you,
power to you.
Exactly. She is such a sweetheart. And like, when I say she is such a sweetheart, I mean, y'all, we went to this conference. The conference was in, it was in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
What was the area specifically called? Industry City, I think.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
So we was in that area, and then I needed to get back to my cousin in East Harlem, and like I was like, train? What? Who? She was like, girl, get on the train, and she literally the rest of the time I was in New York was like, okay. Every time I told her I was going somewhere, she'd be like, okay, P, get on the M21, get on the A10, like whatever. I was like, girl.
No, it was like, honestly, when I go back to like how we met, it's so crazy. And I don't even know if I told you this story, but like we were both sitting like in the chairs outside of, I guess, one of the rooms where I guess they had just finished a workshop or something. We were both just sitting there and, networking. I don't know if you said something to me or I said something to you, but I just remember the two males that came to us because they saw this event happening, and they were just like, and they approached us and they were just like, yeah, so what's happening here? Like, what is this? Like, it looks interesting. And then you were explaining to them.
Designers.
Yeah. And then they were asking about graphic designers. But what blew my mind was that, like, I'm very much an introvert. Like, I could be an extrovert if I need to in these settings. But let me tell y'all how Precious was like they specifically spoke to Precious and they were like, oh, you're a graphic designer? She's like, yeah, I'm a graphic designer. She's a graphic designer too, because, there's not many of us. And they're like, oh, okay, but you're like based in Minnesota because we have a business in Minnesota. She was like, yeah. And then they were like, okay, well, maybe you could do some work for us. And she was like, okay, share your information. Maybe both of us can do some work for you. And I was like, that was it. I was like, ooh, I like this girl. Mm-hmm. And then we both left and we were just like, we ain't doing no work for
them. They never reached out to me, but they and I was like, here's the thing, and this also, I mean, this is another conversation for, I think, I want to call it like the beautiful girl panel, okay? When you have people who try to talk to you, but then they're like, oh, you have a business? Oh, well, what's that? Like, they want to talk to you through your business, and you have to be like, no, in real life, pay me and this woman next to me.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what happens after that. Because 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to pay me. And 9 times out of 10, once you realize, oh, this is strictly business, you're going to get off my line.
And it was just, honestly, that moment, because that doesn't happen a lot. And there aren't a lot of women like you and or me. Because I know in my experiences, that just has not happened. It hasn't happened. I've just felt like a lonely soul, I'm like, man, okay, like I know there's people out there like me as a female and a Black designer, but like I just haven't connected or met with them. And this was my first time doing that in that setting last year. And here you go. Yeah, you can both of us.
Like what? Like, oh, okay, run these coins. That's just how I be feeling. Like, okay, run me. I like money. Everybody by now, y'all should know. I like money. I like pay me first. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Pay me first, and then and I'm not a transactional person. I'm not always like, oh, well, you gotta pay me to have a conversation with me. I'm definitely not that person. I am a person where time is money and money is time. You are not going to waste my time. And I have something that, like, when I first met Naja, I could tell, like, okay, also too, because at the event that we were at, I'm not going to say the name of the event because they did the next day gift me, okay? But there was supposed to be a private, like a private concert type of thing. And I remember I didn't know who was who and what was what. And like, Naja knew I didn't know who was who and what. Stayed with me. Like, you know, I'm gonna stay near you because you, and like she didn't leave until I was ready to leave. Like that for me, that's a person who's kind-hearted, who actually looks out for other people. Those type of people, and even Rochelle just talked about those type of people, you keep them close to you. You understand, like if Naja really needed something from me and she was like, P, I got this client and this is happening and I don't know what the hell to do and I wouldn't charge her for her time. I would give her a breakdown. Listen, this is how you're gonna handle this person. Like things of that nature. So, but outside,
and we enjoyed that concert too, though, because you thought, you had to pay for it, but everyone ended up being available to access.
And that's why I got this next day. Okay. When Naja Angel is on the way out the door, I was like, excuse me. I'm just confused. I'm confused. But
that was like that. Yeah, we could go back to that night because that was just a day.
all of it. I was like, you know what? And that's why, because now when I'm looking back, and especially after COVID, all of these big conferences that had to switch and go virtual, all of y'all hate it, and all of y'all is sad because all the coins you thought you was gonna make this year and all the things you counted on and da-da-da-da-da. And I know we're just doing art in many forms in the living room flow and traveling and before COVID, trying to find COVID really saved me. Like, because I'm a one-woman show. Yes. No, let me tell you, COVID did a lot of good things, okay? COVID did a lot of good things. Because when I started planning the tour originally, you guys, and I was trying to find all the event locations and have conversations with people. And mind you, King P Studio still operates.
Also, I'm slowly moving.
I'm still designing every day. I'm still having conversations, sending contracts, making sure invoices are paid. Like, I'm still doing that alongside of doing art in many forms, making sure my speakers are happy and things of that nature, right? So, before COVID, and then also too, trying to get all the funding and trying to make sure I had enough funding. And I already told y'all in the last episode how much money came about for art in many forms. When I was planning, I was like, y'all, I'm gonna be broke in 2 seconds, right? COVID came, and because everything was virtual, I just made it sexy. Just, you know what I'm saying? Sexy, you know, because the living room flow was literally birthed out of, oh, well, if we can't go to an event space, I can always get an Airbnb. What? I can always pull up to a city and ask 2-3 homegirls to show up with their other homegirl and have a conversation. What?
Yeah.
Let's do it. But borders is closed, y'all, and I ain't going to New York.
No, you don't want to. I'm in DC right now, but like I told you, what sprinkler? Somebody's backyard. Anybody.
Jamaica borders is open, but we ain't.
Yeah, it's open, but I think when you go, you have to like quarantine a whole 2 weeks when you get there. I'm not trying to spend my whole vacation in the house. Now it's a different story if the beach is in my backyard, but like,
Oh my
I don't know if I could do that.
You know
I've
what?
been this close.
It's close.
Yeah, my grandmother, like right here, she's like, man, I can't take this. Because I usually go with her. She's like, I can't, like, I should have been in Jamaica right now. I should have been in St. Lucia. She is, yeah.
Oh, you know what that means? You know what I just thought about that I haven't thought about? That means wasn't no carnival this year. Oh.
No.
It's pros and cons. I tell you what, it really do. It really, really do. But wow, today has been super dope. This is the last of the Keynote Series, y'all. Naja, the last question I love to ask everybody, that I have to ask everybody, what would you say to a woman or women, especially women of color, who are either looking to start a business or want to start a business, and they still have a 9-to-5? What would you tell those women, for those who start something on the side?
I would say follow your heart, like follow your dreams and your passion and what you want to do. And while doing it, even though in your head you might be blowing stuff up and you're spinning wheels, outside handle everything with grace. Because let me tell you, that is probably the key for us women, but Black women, because the amount of times people tell me they're like, yeah, like professionalism, creativity, love it, but for the fact that you're just like you handle everything with grace and you're just like peaceful, try your best to do that, because that interaction is probably the one that solidifies and closes that deal. Whatever you may go through, they don't need to know that you blowing stuff up and probably throwing papers around like in your room and stuff. But wherever it takes you, just handle it with grace and it will all work out.
That's a word. That's a word. Handle all things with grace.
With grace.
Wow. Okay. That's that water energy.
Is it? I feel like I don't know. I feel like
that water
I can't prep for these things. I just have to talk and I just say what comes out. After this, I'm not going to remember what I said, but I know it was probably some good stuff.
That's okay. These earth signs, we be like, blow it all up. Blow it up. Rebuild
like,
it.
Anything. I'm probably going to look back at this and be like, that's what I said? Okay, Naja. All right.
Listen, I'm proud. I really am, because I'm trying to every day more and more. But we'll see by my birthday, and that's around the corner at this point. But
at this point, yes. At this point, yes. But I will say, before I forget, it was a pleasure. Like, I really enjoyed this. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this. Thank you for your spirit and your energy. I connect with people's energy. And I feel like that's what we spoke about the first time we met. We were talking about energy. And your energy is just so positive and it's great. And whether I see you in person, because I only saw you one time, and since then, it's just been Instagram stories and posts, and I'm like, I still feel that energy. So now to be able to connect with you again and talk to you, it's like, I don't know, it's a great feeling. I'm gonna leave this, and this will be like,
and because what she didn't mention, I mean, she slowly mentioned that she need an island, but she actually really, 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 really be traveling. Like, she really be out.
Oh yes. Girl,
out in these streets, she be out in these countries, okay?
And on the flip side, I know COVID blessed us all. I mean, I've been able to save some money, pay off some credit card bills, but let me tell you how my St. Lucia, my Greece, my Bahamas, my Jamaica, and something else on there. Oh, even a cruise for 2021, a wedding, have all been canceled. So my traveling 2020, yeah, but when it opens back up, oh, best believe we making up for some lost time.
And to be clear, we're not talking about outside, like, oh, you can go to your local restaurant. We're talking about when them borders open up and say come back through, she gonna be the first one on the plane. Don't you? Yep. Okay, because
I'm gonna buy my seat and the one next to me just in case, because I'm gonna be able to do that, and I'll be good.
You need to go to Japan.
Oh my gosh. Oh, Thailand. Sorry, that was the one that I forgot.
You supposed to go to Thailand, friend? Listen, y'all,
I had plans, but it's all right though, because when we come back in 2021, oh, debt gone, savings is just, I'll be able to do everything. Everything.
The debt is gone. I'm finna go out in these. What?
Can't do nothing. Why? Because I worked hard for this, and I have been on hold for a whole we've been like this since January. The only trip I've taken going into 2020 was I went to Iceland.
I know.
That's the only trip I went on.
Women in the Icelands, and I was like,
Let me tell you, Iceland men, they love them some black women. It's like they never seen them. They're like they never seen them ever.
And this is why I adore her, y'all.
And it was just me and my girlfriend, and they were just like, where are you from?
Listen, Naja, listen, we have a conversation about Iceland. But y'all, thank you. I hope y'all have gotten prepared for y'all 2021. Because as you already hear, this one gonna be on a plane. Yeah.
Still
And
collecting and printing my invoices though. That's not going anywhere. That's not going anywhere.
so
Period.
so thank you all. Thank you for watching this. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope y'all come back to learn some more. And you know, if nothing else, please keep doing what you love. Keep believing in what you do and give yourself some grace and keep smiling per usual. As always, everybody be great. Thank you for coming. Bye.